from the Post-Millennial. Trump urges immediate evacuation of Tehran. Post-Millennial reports President Trump warned on Monday evening that everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran, Iran's capital city. This comes as Israel and Iran have traded strikes over the weekend. Trump said, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Now, we have this video, which is reportedly from now, but there have been videos of this going around for a while. Footage of Tehran's highways showing people leaving the city in droves. So you can see the highway is lit up. We also have this video, which is a strike that occurred. Now, it's not graphic or anything like that, so just, you're being pre-warned that it's not graphic. But this shows an active strike on Iranian television. Check this out.
صدای متجاوز به خاک وطن، صدای متجاوز به صدای حق و حقیقت است. آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلوده استودیو.
I've heard some reports that Iran was issuing orders for Israeli news media to evacuate their headquarters. Did you hear that as well?
I heard that as well. Yeah, in Haifa. Yeah, in the northern part of the country.
And now we have this from Lawrence Jones. He says, I've been informed that President at POTUS will have dinner with the heads of state of the G7 nations and then immediately depart for Washington. He has requested the National Security Council be prepared in the Situation Room. So it would seem, ladies and gentlemen, that a war is coming. We've got this. Check this out from Times of Israel. U.S. appears to be deploying large number of aerial refueling tankers across the Atlantic. I believe the number is upwards of 30 refueling tankers. Now, these are important for Western fighter jets that can't make the trip from Israel to Iran. They'll have to refuel in midair after on their return flight. So they go in, they engage in airstrikes, turn around, meet up with these refueling tankers, get refueled, and come back, or maybe before. But this is the speculation here is that the U.S. is mass mobilizing. Of course, we have this tweet. Eli Afri, it says, madness. Within minutes of Trump's tweets, dozens of U.S. planes on their way to the Middle East. So I'm not entirely sure. This guy says a former IDF soldier. And we can see this chart appearing to show the flight paths of many jets moving in. It looks like these may be, I don't know if these are refueling tankers or what's going on. But I'm going to go ahead and say I think the U.S. is about to get involved in this war.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
That's terrible. I think you're right. This is terrible. Yeah. I think this is against his base. There's a lot of people on Fox News who want it.
So it doesn't seem it doesn't seem like there's going to be strikes carried out by the U.S. It seems like they're looking to play a support role.
I think that's bad enough.
There are B-2s that are, I guess, stationed somewhere in the Indian Ocean, I believe. I'm not sure what other bombers, but there's not, obviously there's 3 carriers, so, they've got plenty of F-18s and stuff like that.
I think something's certainly happening. I really wish it wouldn't happen, but this is the pattern of American war. We have destabilized a destabilized nation, which, we are just now still coming out of the lockdowns, which mutilated this country and the rest of the world. And just like after the Great Depression, we went to war, and I think it's happening again. And
we also have the Nimitz is deploying.
Yep.
And the interesting thing about this is that it was scheduled to be deployed, but it is now deploying early into the Indo-Pacific. And it's scheduled for decommission next year.
That's interesting.
I know. That's
so conspiracy, brother.
I think it's too on the nose. I think it's like I think they're feeding us these things to be like it's going to be another false flag. I think there's other false flags coming.
So what is the implication of a vessel that is 1 year from decommission heading into?
We're going to Gulf of Tonkin it.
Yeah.
Even though that second one at Gulf of Tonkin wasn't actually hit,
right?
They could say that or hit it themselves.
I agree with you. It feels too on the nose. But, of course, the conspiracy theory is that we're sending in a ship we're about to decommission because we don't need it anymore.
Right.
And so it's going to get attacked by Iran.
Right.
And then we're like, oh, geez, we had to join this war. Now, someone this morning...
What else is happening right now? What is it called? The One Big Beautiful Bill?
Yeah.
That provides about $200 billion to reinvigorate U.S. defense. And what is the other process?
$1 trillion military spending bill, isn't it?
Oh, and then the other process that we're involved in, an appropriations package.
Indeed.
Yeah, lots of money to get thrown at this whole thing.
A lot of people make a lot of money.
I'm pretty opposed to war entirely. I've been watching this along with the rest of you guys, trying to figure out what's going on. Trump was very vocal about not getting us into any new wars. He's really been, and of course in his first term, no new wars. He's really been skating quite the line on this, right? Like not saying that he's backing Israel materially, not saying that the U.S. is going to get involved in this conflict that Israel has been planning for 20 years. Like they've been planning to do this very thing. You have Netanyahu all weekend saying, first he was coming out and saying that Iran tried to assassinate Trump, which was very clearly so come join us in this war thing. Today he was talking about how Iran hates America, which, like, as we mentioned pre-show, we know, right? We know that. Yep. But my impulse here is to really hope and pray and trust that the president has America's best interests at heart. That is what I am.
What does that mean?
That is what I am hoping. I do not necessarily know what that means. I do think it's important to. I do think it's important to support our allies. I don't think that it's great for the U.S. to get involved in bombing Iran or anything like that. I have a lot of doubts about this. We were talking about Israel's need for U.S. bunker busters in order to get to the Fordow deep underground nuclear facility that they want to attack. Now, Israel could get it anyway. They just want our stuff to do it because it would be more expedient.
But the question with war with Iran, as you said, I hope Trump has America's best interest at heart.
Depends on what those interests are.
What if it's in America's best interest in terms of unipolar global dominance?
Right.
Or petrodollar supremacy?
Right. These are questions. And then, of course, you go back to, remember Donald Rumsfeld? Remember that documentary with Donald Rumsfeld? And he was like, well, who do you want? You want somebody else to be in charge? Do
you want communist China to be the unipolar power?
Right. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for either. And then if Iran does attain nuclear weapons, then who else is going to attain nuclear weapons? Because they're certainly just going to share and sell it.
Yep. I think the greatest concern with Iran getting a nuke is not that Iran's going to strike anybody, which is the stupidest. Mm-hmm. I gotta be honest. When Israel's coming out and even people in the U.S. and they're like, Iran's going to get a nuke and they're going to get you, like, bro, they're not going to be able to build a rocket that's going to reach the United States. But it is going to get into the hands of some wackaloon, crazy-ass people.
And didn't we look at a map?
Like the Houthis.
Yeah.
So if that were to happen, Persia gets turned into glass. I believe that the nuclear program in Tehran was for ultimately the purpose, or at least the facade of attaining a nuclear weapon, but ultimately the nuclear program is their best piece of leverage. They learn from what happened to Saddam. They learn from what happened to Gaddafi. Errors, wars of choice that the United States undertook, and their whole strategy, I think, here is to move slowly but surely towards that nuclear bomb in order to create leverage. Because if they do attain the nuclear bomb, then you have a North Korea the size of Western Europe in the middle of Eurasia. That's what you have. You're going to make yourself a pariah. You're not going to be negotiating with the Chinese and the Russians to the same degree, or be a participant in global affairs to the same degree as they are now. And so I don't think the justification of a denuclearized Iran is enough. I think it would be wise for policymakers in the United States right now to think about how they're actually going to talk to the public about this war. Because everyone's posting on Twitter. Actually, if you look at polls, people are really supportive of striking Iran if it means preventing a nuclear weapon.
Trust polls.
People were, trust the polls. But people were really having an easy time saying that we should go into Iraq to get rid of the Saddam because of the WMDs, and
which
Bush
turned out to be fake.
Which turned out to be fake, and Bush was underwater a year later on the war. And so what we need to start talking about now is, what is the plan? Iran is a Shia majority country. There's not many of them. Iran has 90 million people. That is bigger than Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya combined, plus another Afghanistan on top of that. As I said, it's as big as Western Europe. So Are we okay with the mullahs and the Ayatollah retaining control of Iran if we go in there with B-2 bombers and blow up Fordow and decapitate their nuclear program? And guess what? If we're not, who's going to take the Ayatollah's place? Because I was promised from the neocons for years that if this happens, within 48 hours, people were going to be in the streets demonstrating and demanding the Ayatollah's head. That hasn't happened. The only demonstrations that we saw in Iran over the weekend were people demanding retribution against the Israelis for carrying out these strikes, and the United States too. So we can't forget that. So what takes its place? Is this another Syria 2.0? Does this let an Islamic state rear its
crazier
head?
than Syria. People don't understand how big Iran is.
Exactly.
They don't understand.
And look at the topography there, Tim.
All mountains.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think the likely scenario, Trump supporters largely do not want war with Iran. But Trump does have his key influencer base that are very culty. Not all of them, but many of them. If U.S. Here's my prediction. U.S. military naval forces are going to go to guard the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to try and keep it open. They're going to say, we're not getting involved in this. There will be an attack on our vessels or whatever.
Probably not
assets.
by the Iranians, by the Houthis most likely.
Maybe. Who knows? All that matters is that they come out on TV and say, U.S. men and women in uniform have been attacked by Iran. We were trying to maintain the Strait of Hormuz to keep it open because this is also Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Oman. They're going to say, we can't allow Iran to shut down trade for all of these nations. They attacked us. We have no choice. You've already got the narrative. Netanyahu's been saying this. Iran's trying to kill Trump. I am fairly certain the moment Trump comes out and says, we cannot allow our brave men and women in uniform to be attacked by a foreign adversary. We are simply trying to maintain trade, but they have invoked our ire by attacking our good people. I wouldn't be surprised if even men and women in uniform die. Trump's base is going to, on a dime, say, yep, Trump's right. They're going to go right for it.
And the left comes back.
I think a certain amount of his base. I think the base is going to fracture.
It's already fractured.
It's already been
we're watching it
difficult,
fracture big time today. It's been happening.
You know what's funny is, like, doesn't it seem to be mostly the people that were pro DeSantis are now happy with Trump's
They're happy with
saber rattling?
the war thing.
They're like, we like what Trump is doing now.
Yep.
I wonder how long a show like this can last when we are anti-intervention. Back in the day, in like the Bush era, the only voices you heard were pro-Iraq war, pro-Afghanistan war, because the media was controlled. If you wanted to appear as a personality, you either were the select, low charisma anti-war activist, so you can feign the opposition or make them look stupid, or you were basically just, you agree with the war to varying degrees. Yeah. Now you've got a show like this, which is decently large, and we're all relatively, now we shouldn't be involved in this.
Can I say Pat Buchanan is a patriot who saw all of this coming?
Yep. He called he called for Tulsi Gabbard to be national security advisor back in the first Trump administration.
Yeah. And you know, he founded the magazine that I used to work for and am a contributing editor at now. And he was called an unpatriotic conservative. There was pieces in the Weekly Standard and in the Public Interest and in National Review attacking these people for not getting on board with taking out Saddam Hussein in Iraq.
Yeah.
And these people, when they're riled up in these warlike passions, I mean, we've seen the bloodlust on social media. I mean, it's gross. I saw people retweeting that clip of that news agency, of course, it's state TV in Iran, getting blown up, saying, how awesome is this? Look at this little terrorist mouthpiece getting blown up. It's terrifying. It's horrifying to think that. And if they get whipped up like this, I mean, people are going to lose their careers. They're going to lose their careers over accusations of being a traitor. They're going to lose their careers to being called anti-Semitic. They're going to lose their careers for not going along with the propaganda. And guess what? At the end of the day, we're still going to have an incredibly destabilized Middle East if we go through with the regime change war in Iran.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.